Hello, and welcome to Chapter 21 of Radiating Literature. This chapter title feels like it should have come much earlier in the book. Chapter 21, Hercule Poirot, on the case. I feel like, again, he's been on the case for a while. Also, this episode will feature me having some wine. Now, before you say that's a very full glass of wine, I mixed it with ginger beer because this is actually not a great wine. It is organic though. It came from the closest place that sells wine, which is a very tiny organic store. It's a very bad wine. Not very bad. It's not good. So mixing it with ginger beer means I won't waste it. But it also makes this glass of wine look huge. Okay. So chapter 21, Hercule Poirot on the case. In a measured voice, Poirot began his exposition. It seems strange to you, mon ami, that a man should plan his own death. So strange that you prefer to reject the truth as fantastic and to revert to a story that is in reality 10 times more impossible. Yes, Renaud planned his own death, but there is one detail that perhaps escapes you. He did not intend to die. Okay, you're saying he planned his own death, but not. And then are like, I don't know why Hastings will be confused. Okay. I shook my head, bewildered. But no, it is most simple, really, said Poirot kindly. Can't be kindly, it's condescending. Okay. For the crime that Mr. Renaud proposed a murderer was not necessary, as I told you, but a body was. Let us reconstruct, seeing events this time from a different angle. George Conneau flies from justice to Canada. There, under an assumed name, he marries, and finally acquires a vast fortune in South America. But there is a nostalgia upon him for his own country. 20 years have elapsed. He is considerably changed in appearance, besides being a man of such eminence that no one is likely to connect him with a fugitive from justice many years ago. He deems it quite safe to return. He takes up his headquarters in England, but intends to spend the summers in France. That seems so dumb to do. Sorry, my dog's doing something very funny with her blanket. Okay. I don't know what she's trying to do. Sorry, okay. And ill fortune, that obscure justice which shapes men's ends, and will not allow them to evade the consequences of their acts, takes him to Merlinville. There, in the whole of France, is the one person who is capable of recognizing him. It is, of course, a gold mine to Madame Dubril, and a gold mine of which she is not slow to take advantage. He is helpless, absolutely in her power, and she bleeds him heavily. Sorry, my dog's looking at me with just a weird expression. Okay. And then the inevitable happens. Jack Renaud falls in love with a beautiful girl he sees almost daily and wishes to marry her. That rouses his father. At all costs, he will prevent his son marrying the daughter of this evil woman. Again, I still wonder if they're related. Jack Renaud... I have to get a picture of my dog. What are you doing there, Velma? Nope, we're done now. As soon as I get the camera out, we're done. Okay. Jack Renaud knows nothing of his father's past, but Madame Renaud knows everything. She's a woman of great force of character and passionately devoted to her husband. They take counsel together. Renaud sees only one way of escape: death. He must appear to die, in reality escaping to another country, where he will start again under an assumed name, and where Madame Renaud, having played the widow's part for a while, can join him. It is essential that she should have control of the money, so he alters his will. Why is it essential? How they meant to manage the body business originally, I do not know. Possibly an art student's skeleton and a fire or something of the kind, but long before their plans have matured, an event occurs which plays into their hands. A rough tramp, violent and abusive, finds his way into the garden. There is a struggle. Renaud seeks to eject him, and suddenly the tramp, an epileptic fit, falls down in a fit. He is dead. Renaud calls his wife. Together they drag him into the shed. Sorry again, the dog is doing something funny. Okay. Had to film that. Okay. Together they drag him into the shed. As we know, the event had occurred just outside, and they realize the marvelous opportunity that has vouchsafed them. I've just never seen that phrase. The man bears no resemblance to Renaud, but he is middle-aged, of the usual French type. That is sufficient. I rather fancy that they sat on the bench up there, out of earshot from the house, discussing matters. Their plan was quickly made. The identification must rest solely on Madame Renaud's evidence. Jack Renaud and the chauffeur, who had been with his master 2 years, must be got out of the way. It was unlikely that the French women's servants would go near the body. Why? And in any case, Renaud intended to take measures to deceive anyone not likely to appreciate the details. Masters was sent off, a telegram dispatched to Jack. Buenos Aires, still spelled wrong, being selected to give credence to their story that Renaud had decided upon. Having heard of me as a rather obscure elderly detective, he wrote his appeal for help, knowing that when I arrived, the production of the letter would have a profound effect upon the examining magistrate, which, of course, it did. They dressed the body of the tramp in a suit of Mr. Renaud's, and left his ragged coat and trousers by the door of the shed, not daring to take them into the house. And then, to give credence to the tale Madame Renaud was to tell, they drove the airplane dagger through his heart. That night, Renaud will first bind and gag his wife, and then, taking a spade, will dig a grave in that particular spot of ground where he knows bunker, is supposed to be made. It is essential that the body should be found. Madame de Bril must have no suspicions. On the other hand, if a little time elapses, any dangers as to identity will be greatly lessened. Then Renaud will don the tramp's rags and shuffle off to the station, where he will leave unnoticed by the 12:10 train. Since the crime will be supposed to have taken place 2 hours later, no suspicion can possibly attach to him. You see now his annoyance at the inopportune visit of the girl Bella. For every moment of delay is fatal to his plans. He gets rid of her as soon as he can. However, then to work. He leaves the front door slightly ajar to create the impression that the assassins left that way. He binds and gags Madame Renaud, correcting his mistake of 22 years ago. Then, when the looseness of the bonds caused suspicion to fall upon his accomplice, but leaving her primed with essentially the same story as he had invented before, proving the unconscious recoil of the mind against originality. The night is chilly, and he slips on an overcoat over his underclothing, intending to cast it into the grave with the dead man. He goes out by window, smoothing over the flower bed carefully, and thereby furnishing the most positive evidence against him. He goes out onto the lonely golf links, and he digs. And then... Yes? And then, said Poirot gravely, the justice that he has so long eluded overtakes him. An unknown hand stabs him in the back. Now, Hastings, you understand what I mean when I talk of 2 crimes. The first crime, the crime that Renaud, in his arrogance, asked us to investigate. But he made a famous mistake there. He has misjudged Poirot. Is solved. But behind it lies a deeper riddle, and to solve that will be difficult, since the criminal in his wisdom has been content to avail himself of the devices prepared by Renaud. It has been a particularly perplexing and baffling mystery to me. A young hand, like Gerard, who does not play any reliance on the psychology, is almost certain to fail. You're marvelous, Poirot, I said with admiration. Absolutely marvelous. No one on earth but you could have done it. I think my praise pleased him. For once in his life, he looked almost embarrassed. Ah, then you no longer despise poor old Papa Poirot? I still hate that name. You shift your allegiance back from the human foxhound. His term for Gerard never failed to make me smile. God, you guys are so mean. Rather, you've scored over him handsomely. That poor Gerard, said Poirot, trying unsuccessfully to look modest. Without doubt, it is not all stupidity. He has had la mauvaise chance. I really am trying to mess with French, once or twice. The dark hair quoted on the dagger, for instance. To say the least, it was misleading. To tell the truth, Poirot, I said slowly, even now I don't quite see. Whose hair was it? Madame Renaud's, of course. That is where la mauvaise chance came in. Her hair, dark originally, is almost completely silvered. It might have it might just as easily have been a grey hair, and then, by no conceivable effort, could Gerard have persuaded himself it came from the head of Jacques Renaud. But it is all of a piece. Nope, I read that right. Always the facts must be twisted to fit the theory. Did not Gerard find the traces of two persons, a man and a woman, in the shed? And how does that fit in with his reconstruction of the case? I will tell you, it does not fit in, and so we shall hear no more of them. I ask you, is that a methodical way of working? The great Gerard is nothing but a toy balloon, swollen with its own importance. But I, Equipol, whom he despises, will be the little pin that pricks the big balloon. Comme ça? Again, that's my best attempt. And he made an expressive gesture. Then, calming down, he resumed. Without doubt, when Madame Renaud recovers, she will speak. The possibility of her son being accused of the murder never occurred to her. How should it, when she believed him safely at sea on board the Anzora? Ah, voilà une femme, Hastings. What force, what self-command! She only made one slip on the unexpected return. It does not matter now. And no one noticed, no one realized the significance of those words. Except you, of course. What a terrible part she has had to play, poor woman. Imagine the shock when she goes to identify the body, and instead of what she expects, sees the actual lifeless form of the husband she has believed miles away by now. No wonder she fainted. But since then, despite her grief and her despair, how resolutely she has played her part, and how the anguish of it must wring her, she cannot say a word to set us on the track of the real murderers. For her son's sake, no one must know that Paul Renaud was George Queneau, the criminal. Final and most bitter blow, she has admitted publicly that Madame Dubril was her husband's mistress, for a hint of blackmail might be fatal to her secret. How cleverly she dealt with the examining magistrate when he asked her if there was any mystery in her husband's past. Nothing so romantic, I am sure, le juge. It was perfect, the indulgent tone, the soupçon, sad mockery. At once Hotet felt himself foolish and melodramatic. Yes, she is a great woman. She loved a criminal. She loved him royally. Poirot lost himself in contemplation. One thing more, Poirot. What about the piece of lead piping? Yeah, you made a big deal of that. You do not see? To disfigure the victim's face so that it would be unrecognizable. It was that which first set me on the right track, and that imbecile of Gerard swarming all over it to look for match ends. Did I not tell you that a clue of 2 feet long was quite as good as a clue of 2 inches? Wink, wink. Well, Gerard will sing small now, I observed hastily, to lead the conversation away from my own shortcomings. As I said before, will he? If he has arrived at the right person by the wrong method, he will not permit that to worry him. But surely, I paused and then saw a new trend of things. You see, Hastings, we must start again. Who killed Renaud? Someone who was near the villa just before 12 o'clock that night. Someone who would benefit by his death. The description fits Jacques Renaud only too well. The crime need not have been premeditated. And then, the dagger! I startled. I had not realized that point. Of course, I said. The second dagger we found in the tramp was Mrs. Renaud's. There were 2, then. Certainly, and since there were duplicates, it stands to reason that Jacques Renaud was the owner. Or Martha Dubril did it, just saying. And that would not trouble me so much. In fact, I have a little idea as to that. No, the worst indictment against him is again psychological. Hereditary, mon ami, hereditary. Oh my God. Are we suggesting that being a murderer is an inherited trait? This isn't even a case where he, witnessed the murder or, grew up around a lot of violence. This is just, you think, it is literally in his DNA. That is so problematic. Okay. Like father, like son, Jacques Renaud, when all is said and done, is the son of George Queneau. His tone was grave and earnest, and I was impressed in spite of myself. What is your little idea that you mentioned just now? I asked. For answer, Poirot consulted his turnip-faced watch. I just don't get it. And then asked, What time is the afternoon boat from Calais? About 5, I believe. That will do very well. We shall just have time. You are going to England? Yes, my friend. Why? To find a possible witness. Who? With a rather peculiar smile upon his face, Poirot replied, Miss Bella Duveen. But how will you find her? What do you know about her? I know nothing about her, but I can guess a good deal. We may take it for granted that her name is Bella Duveen, and since that name was faintly familiar to Mr. Stoner, though evidently not in connection with the Renaud family, it is probable that she is on the stage. Oh. Why is that There's so many other things it could be. Jack Renaud was a young man with plenty of money and 20 years of age. The stage is sure to have been the home of his first love. You're making so many assumptions right now, Poirot, but no, making assumptions is bad. It tallies, too, with Mr. Renaud's attempt to placate her with a check. I think I shall find her all right, especially with the help of this. And he brought out the photograph I had seen him take from Jack Renaud's drawer. With love from Bella was scrawled across the corner, and it was not that which held my eyes fascinated. The likeness was not first rate. But for all that it was unmistakable to me, I felt a cold sinking, as though some unutterable calamity had befallen me. It was the face of Cinderella. Yeah, who could have seen that coming? That rando lady we met who wanted to see the crime scene and know all the details, who won't tell you her name and won't tell you where she's staying. Who could have thought that she was connected to the crime? Not even Hercule Poirot, apparently. Anyways, that is the end of chapter 21.